Welcome back, everyone, to The Deep Dive. We throw around terms like lawyer all the time, but I think it's fair to say we don't always grasp the specifics of what different types of lawyers actually do.
Definitely.
So today, we're diving deep, no pun intended, into a particularly crucial area, the world of truck accident lawyers. And, these aren't your typical fender benders, right? We're talking about accidents with a whole other level of legal complexity because of the sheer size and force involved. Our mission today is to break down exactly what these lawyers do, how they can help, and why their role is so vital.
Yeah.
And we're really fortunate to have a leading expert in the field joining us to shed some light on all of this.
Thanks for having me.
So let's get right to it. When we talk about a truck accident lawyer, what's the fundamental legal area they operate in? What's their specialty?
Well, at the core, a truck accident lawyer is a personal injury attorney. But they're specialized. They focus on tort law, specifically as it relates to these, big commercial vehicle accidents.
Tort law. Now, I think a lot of us might have heard that term, but maybe not totally clear on what it means.
Right. So tort, in simple terms, is like a civil wrong or injury. It's something that happens that causes harm, and the law says, hey, you can seek some kind of remedy for that, usually financial damages.
So like if someone's driving a semi-truck and they're negligent and that causes you harm, that falls under tort law.
Exactly. That's the framework that allows you to say, hey, because of what you did, I'm injured, I've suffered losses, and I deserve compensation. Tort law is all about trying to make things right.
Make things right. Okay, so when we talk about compensation, what are we actually talking about? What kinds of things can a truck accident lawyer help someone recover financially?
Well, it can be a lot of things, and it really speaks to how serious these accidents can be. It's not just, oh, fix my car. It's way beyond that. We're talking about medical bills, obviously, both the ones you have now and any future treatment you might need because of the accident. And then there's lost wages, the income you're missing because you can't work.
Right. Makes sense.
But it goes even further. Like, what if your injuries are so severe you can't ever go back to the same job or earn the same amount of money? That's called loss of earning capacity. And a good lawyer will fight for you to be compensated for that, too. Then, of course, there's vehicle damage. But it doesn't stop there.
I'm guessing there are also some less obvious things.
You got it. Things like emotional distress. These accidents can be incredibly traumatic, and you deserve compensation for that. Same with pain and suffering, the physical pain you've endured. And sadly, sometimes these accidents are fatal. In those cases, it's about wrongful death damages for the family left behind.
It's about recognizing the true impact of the accident, all of it.
Precisely.
You mentioned earlier that truck accidents are especially complex from a legal standpoint. What makes them different from, say, a collision between two cars?
Yeah, a few things. One big one is the number of people who might be held responsible. Think about it. A car accident is usually just the two drivers. But with a truck, it could be the driver, sure, but it could also be the trucking company they work for, the company that owns the trailer, the manufacturer of the truck, or a part that failed.
Oh, wow, I hadn't even considered that.
Even the people who loaded the cargo, if they did it wrong and that contributed to the accident. And all these different parties, they likely have their own insurance company, so it gets pretty messy pretty quickly.
So it's like this whole web of potential responsibility.
Exactly. It's a lot to untangle. And for the lawyer, a big part of it is figuring out who all those responsible parties are. They have to dig into things like, is the employer liable for what the employee did behind the wheel? Or did the company do a bad job hiring or training the driver? Lots of legal nuances there.
So it really goes way beyond just who was driving at the time.
It does.
So let's say someone's been in a truck accident and they decide, okay, I need a lawyer. What are the first steps? What happens when you first meet with a client?
The first thing is to really understand what happened. I mean, we need all the details of the accident. What led up to it, road conditions, were there witnesses, the whole picture. And based on that, we can start to see if they have a strong case, if we can really help them.
I see. Kind of like an initial assessment.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll also talk about how we work, the fees and all that. Most personal injury lawyers, including us, work on contingency.
Contingency. Can you explain what that means for folks who might not be familiar?
Sure. It means we only get paid if we win the case for you. Basically, we take a percentage of whatever money we recover. So if we don't get you anything, you don't owe us anything.
That makes a lot of sense. It aligns your interests completely.
That's the idea.
So let's say you take on a case. What does the investigation look like? I mean, what are you actually doing to build the case?
It's a lot of work, honestly. Sometimes we'll go to the scene of the accident ourselves just to see it firsthand. get a feel for the road, visibility, things like that.
I can imagine that's helpful.
Definitely. And we'll pore over any photos that were taken, or maybe hire a professional photographer if we need more documentation. We'll talk to witnesses, get their statements. Those can be really important.
I bet.
We'll also look at things like camera footage, from traffic lights, or maybe even from the truck itself, if it has those systems. We'll check out the damage to all the vehicles. And a big one is your medical records, all the documentation about your injuries and what you've had to spend.
So piecing together the whole story.
Exactly. We want to understand exactly what happened, how it happened, and how it's impacted your life.
Makes sense. So you've gathered all this information, you've built your case. What happens next?
Well, the next step is usually to send what we call a demand letter. It's a formal letter we send to the other party's insurance company. Basically, we lay out the whole accident, the injuries, the costs, all of it, and we say, this is what our client deserves to be compensated. It's our way of officially starting the negotiation process.
Okay. And I would imagine having a lawyer at that stage is incredibly important.
Absolutely. Negotiating with insurance companies, it's a whole game, and they're good at it. Their goal is to pay out as little as possible, and they have experienced adjusters who know all the tricks. They might even try to contact you directly, try to get you to say things that could hurt your case or pressure you into taking a low settlement.
Oh, wow. So it's really about protecting the client's interests.
That's the heart of it. We know how to deal with insurance companies. We know how to read those policies, figure out exactly what you're entitled to, and we're not afraid to fight for it.
You're the buffer.
Exactly. We're there to advocate for you, make sure you get a fair shake.
Now, what happens if you can't reach a fair settlement? If the insurance company just won't budge?
Well, if that happens, and sadly it does sometimes, then we have to move to the next stage, which is filing a lawsuit. We prepare all the legal documents, file them with the court, and that officially starts the litigation process. The other side then has to respond, usually within a month or so.
So it gets a lot more formal.
It does, and then we move into what's called the discovery phase.
Discovery.
Yeah, it's basically where both sides gather more information and evidence to prepare for trial. It involves a lot of research on our end, looking up laws, regulations, past cases that might be relevant.
Wow, I bet that's intense.
It can be. We'll also figure out the strongest legal arguments for your case. We might interview more witnesses, take formal sworn statements called depositions, and there's a lot of back and forth with the other side, requesting documents, answering their requests. It's all about making sure everything's out in the open before we get to trial.
So no surprises. Okay, so let's say you've gone through all that, and for whatever reason, you still can't reach a settlement. What's the final step?
The final step is trial, and that's where all that preparation really comes into play. We'll represent you in court, present evidence, question witnesses, make legal arguments to the judge and jury. It's our job to present your case as strongly as possible and fight for your rights.
I imagine that takes a lot of skill and experience.
It does. You have to know the rules, the procedures, how to present evidence effectively, how to make a compelling argument.
So beyond just the legal knowledge, what other skills are important for a good truck accident lawyer?
Organization is huge. These cases have lots of deadlines, paperwork, so you got to be on top of it all. And you have to be a good researcher, dig deep into those laws and regulations. Communication's key too, not just with the client, but also with insurance companies, other lawyers, the court.
Makes sense.
And negotiation, of course. And honestly, with these kinds of cases, time management is crucial. There's a lot to juggle.
It sounds incredibly demanding.
It can be, yeah.
So, with all that in mind, what do you think drives someone to specialize in this area of law? I mean, it's clearly challenging.
At the end of the day, it's about helping people. These accidents can be devastating, both physically and financially. We see the impact it has on people's lives, and we want to help them get back on their feet, get the compensation they deserve.
It's about being an advocate.
It is. These folks are often up against big trucking companies, powerful insurance companies, and they need someone on their side.
That's powerful.
It's what keeps us going.
So, to sum it all up, a truck accident lawyer is like a specialized personal injury lawyer who really understands the ins and outs of tort law when it comes to these big rig accidents. They handle everything from the initial investigation to negotiating with insurance companies, preparing for a lawsuit, and even representing you in court. It's about getting you the full compensation you deserve, not just for your car, but for everything. Medical bills, lost wages, emotional distress, the whole 9 yards.
It's a great summary.
And for anyone listening who might be going through this right now, who might need help after a truck accident, the folks at John Foy & Associates, the experts we've been talking about today, they offer a free consultation. You can call them at 404,000, and you can also find more information on their website.
It's a great resource. Never hurts to talk to someone and see what your options are.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This was a truly insightful deep dive.
Glad to be here. It's important for people to understand this stuff.
And to all of you listening, thank you for joining us. Truck accidents, they can be really complicated. And knowing your rights, knowing what a lawyer can do for you, that can make all the difference. Until next time, stay safe out there, everyone.